iOS 18 is so good that I'm switching from Android, is something that I wish I could say. Sort of. With the rumors prior to Apple's WWDC event held on June 10th, I preemptively purchased a brand new iPhone 15 Pro Max to get ahead of the curve. I wanted to try out some of the features that were expected to come, and after having sat through the entire event, along with installing the iOS 18 beta myself, I am pleased where Apple is headed. So let's rewind a little bit. So if you're new here, hello, my name is John, and I make tech videos that are honest, sharing my real world experience with devices that I've purchased. And over the last couple of years, after being a huge iPhone fanboy, Samsung, Google, and Android as a whole have swayed me away from the iPhone and the Apple ecosystem. There's a lot of reasons as to why I prefer Android over iOS, and despite the fact that this list has gotten much smaller since the iOS 18 beta update, I want to go over everything Apple did right, but why I'm still hesitant to daily drive an iPhone. Before we get started, a like and a sub to the channel is always appreciated. We're almost at 35,000 subscribers, and I just want to say thank you so much for your incredible support. It really does mean a lot. So there's quite a bit that Apple has changed, and it seems like they're trying to open up iOS in terms of its capabilities and customization, slowly bridging the gap between the competition. Let's just go over some of the more digestible things first, like the new control center. So swiping down from the top of the screen gets you a new redesigned control center, and in my opinion, it does look a lot sleeker, but it also allows for much more customization. I'm able to move specific toggles like my screen recorder, quick note, low power mode, and voice recorder to the bottom right to make it easier to select when I actually need them. And I can actually rearrange things like my volume and brightness, making it easier to know which slider at a glance is what I'm changing. If I scroll down, there's also a full-size media player which can be resized or removed. I've added another page specifically for my home devices, giving quick toggles for casting and audio, and underneath that, once again, a customizable page with all of your system toggles, which are much easier to read and understand since it shows the entirety of them. I think that this layout is a lot better, finally giving us an extra level of customization to really configure this to our liking, and it's nice to see, especially it's refreshing coming from Apple. Even the two toggles on the lock screen are now customizable. I went ahead and swapped out the flashlight and camera toggle for a QR code scanner and a timer because I find that I use those more often, especially since I've bounded my action button to my camera. Though one of the things that shocked me during the Apple event, as silly as this is going to sound, is the ability to actually customize your home screen even more. Not only by allowing you to move your app icons anywhere you'd like to, finally, but also showing you a quick glimpse of what's to come with app customization. Being able to move my icons anywhere I want to on my iPhone is unironically something that I've wanted for years because it makes my home screen much more accessible rather than having to reach all the way to the top or use unnecessary widgets to bring my icons lower. I can finally have my most used apps in a reachable area for my thumb, which is nice, especially when handling a larger device like the 15 Pro Max. Now, I do want to touch on the icon customization a little bit because I am slightly disappointed in it, if I'm being honest. But I do want to be clear that this is a beta, and after all of the criticism I've seen about this, I'm sure this is going to change. But anyways, the customization sucks. At the moment, you can choose between dark, light, or tinted icons. Light is what I've always had. Dark is just taking those icons and reimagining them for a dark mode theme. And to be honest, I'm not really a fan. It only works with Apple's apps, so if you want to change something like YouTube or YouTube Music to a darker background, it just won't do that. If you want to change all of your third-party apps and Apple app icons, you need to use the tint option. And when I say tint, it's quite literally just a tint over the icon. It's gonna either desaturate or change the hue of the icons, and for some apps, it looks ridiculous, like Instagram, where the entire app icon just looks washed out. But as bad as the current implementation is, I'm sure down the line we will see app developers on iOS keeping this feature in mind, or maybe offering specific dark mode icons that are changed when you toggle it on. Realistically, I think that it can only get better from here, which is a good thing. So I guess we'll just have to see. Another thing that I'm happy about though is the ability to schedule a text message. Okay, actually, let me rephrase that. The ability to schedule an iMessage. So oddly enough, scheduling doesn't actually work via SMS. And at this point, I'm unaware of whether it'll come to RCS since that's not actually available in the beta. There are two sides to this coin though, because what I think is happening is that the message is being sent to an iCloud server and your message is gonna be delivered at a later date from that server, meaning that your phone doesn't necessarily have to be on once you've already set the message to be scheduled. Now, I kind of like this because a lot of the times when I schedule a message, it's something that I'm trying to send really late at night, but don't want to disturb the person, and it is pretty important. So in case my phone dies, if I forget to plug it in while I'm sleeping, this is a nice thing because the message will still be delivered, but it does kind of suck because if you are scheduling a message through iMessage, well, the person has to be using an iPhone. Now, of course, I don't know whether this is going to be open to SMS and RCS since this is still a beta build of iOS, but don't put it past Apple to limit these features to iPhone users once again. And that's why I want to talk about RCS next. So if you happen to blink during WWDC 24, you may have missed it because RCS support was only mentioned for a nanosecond. And I am super happy RCS is coming to iPhone, but I also think that it'll be coming in a way that we expect it to. If I open up my iPhone, start an SMS conversation, it no longer says text message. It says text message and then clarifies SMS. So with an RCS conversation, I would presume that this text would say text message RCS. People expect a lot from the RCS integration on iPhone because this will finally mean that these devices are able to communicate much better. But I really don't think that the communication between these is going to change that much, except for the communication standard being a little bit more secure. And I mean, all Apple has really claimed so far is richer media delivery and read receipts for those who don't use iMessage. And judging by the fact those bubbles are still green, it makes me think that Apple still wants some layer of separation between their ecosystem tightening machine that is iMessage. And I could be wrong on that, but seeing as how Apple didn't even really want to implement RCS in the first place and was forced to by legislatures, it could really go anywhere. With some good news though, we did get our first look at Apple's new intelligence, Apple Intelligence, which is going to be powering the new Siri. As someone who's been loving what's coming from Google in the Pixel devices and Samsung with Galaxy AI, which is basically just Google AI, I am excited to see Apple finally taking AI seriously because even though it is a cliche, it is insanely useful. There's an updated keyboard with a ton of new intelligent writing tools that is essentially going to kill off applications like Grammarly. There are new priority notifications that appear at the top of your stack and are summarized to show you the most important information out of a long text, email, or app notification. The Mail app is also getting priority messages, and you can tap to reveal a summary from that long email, saving you a ton of time. There's a new call recording feature which will automatically save and summarize your transcripts so that you can review them later. Smart Reply will look through a message or email, giving you a simple yes or no prompt to respond quicker. You can now type to Siri if you're unable to speak or in a place like a library, for example. Siri will now have a much better language understanding, taking pauses and mistakes into consideration, just like you're speaking with a human. You can even now ask it prompts like, show me the food I ate in Florida with Alyssa, and it'll bring them up, which I think is really cool. There really is so much more that Apple has done with the new Siri and OpenAI, I guess. And I don't really want to summarize everything because there is a ton and I don't want you to miss out on anything. So I'll leave a link below to Apple's website and I'll leave a link to the WWDC announcement so that you can actually see what Apple has introduced. But that really isn't it. If Siri cannot answer a prompt, OpenAI's ChatGPT 4.0 is now integrated inside of the iPhone for free, and it will be an opt-in feature in case you don't want it. You will now have the ability to use ChatGPT through Siri as your personal assistant. This is quite literally what Humane tried to do with the Pin, except this is a device that we already have, a form factor that we're used to, and one that we spent so much time with, which makes Apple's personal context feature really interesting. The new Siri will also be able to look at your phone screen and interact with applications and do so much more. This, if done right, could literally be a stepping stone for mobile computing. And this is basically taking things that we've seen in places like OpenAI's ChatGPT and in features like Bixby and combining them into one end-all software. And I think that it's a really good look for Apple. I wish I could show you a real-time demo of this, but unfortunately it isn't available in the beta at the moment. And to be honest, I doubt it will be anytime soon. I'm sure that this is a feature that Apple really wants to get done right just to make sure there's no kinks and that it just captures the media's attention. When I watched this though, I was kind of mind blown, and it's really impressive that a company like Apple, who just a couple of days ago seemed so far behind, has taken a huge leap in the AI space, even if they did have help from OpenAI. The Photos app also got reworked, and Apple is implementing their own photo editing powered by Apple Intelligence, similar to what Google has done with Pixel and Galaxy AI with things like Magic Eraser. There's now a game mode feature which will suspend background processes to improve performance and efficiency when playing more demanding games. There's custom emojis, more reply features, text effects, and new hiking trails and maps. Apple is also rolling out messages via satellite and will allow you to send texts without cellular or Wi-Fi, which could be good and life-saving in a ton of different situations. They've also added their own password manager app rather than being tucked inside of iCloud settings, killing a lot of paid competition out there in regards to password applications. And there's so much more. Like, this update was huge. And honestly, it does have me excited for the future of iPhone because my biggest problem with these devices is the software. Though I want to shift my focus on something quickly and tell you what I want Apple to implement to really make the iPhone the end-all be-all device for me. If you use Android, you'll know about universal navigation, being able to swipe from the right or left side within any app or window, giving you essentially a back button anywhere you are. I can understand from a mental perspective that on an iPhone, a swipe from the left side goes back, but in a lot of apps, some choose to use buttons, which could be located at the top or bottom, and it makes navigation cumbersome rather than being second nature. Having universal gestures would be nice, especially for people who are impaired in some way. I think that it's something that there's no reason it can't be added. It only makes sense. Like, I don't know why this isn't a thing yet, but it also has taken Apple 18 software iterations to allow you to move your app icons and T9 dialing, so maybe we'll see it in another 18 years. And multitasking would be nice. Sometimes I like to throw up a calculator while I'm on my banking app when going through expenses, or just have two app windows like Facebook and X. I don't really need to tell you how I multitask to justify multitasking on iPhone, but the truth is a lot of people use it. Whether you think it's a gimmick or not, considering how powerful these devices are, it's a shame it's not here yet. I would also like to see the ability to change the home screen grid, allowing me to make it 5 or 6 apps wide, or let me change the size of my icons. I do this on Android. It makes the icons smaller and cleaner. It gives me more room for my taskbar for more apps. And if I'm filming B-roll, it's nice to have a more visible background rather than all of the app clutter. And regardless of what your stance is on this and how it affects the RAM and performance of a device, just add a clear all button. Please. Like, I don't know why I have to swipe up every single app when I want to get rid of them. There's also no mention of this, but I would presume it's coming given all of this Apple Intelligence thing. But let us transcribe our voice recorder, because this is something that I use all the time if I'm trying to come up with an idea for a video. I talk into my phone naturally how I would for these videos, and I end up just copying and pasting a lot of it into docs and rewriting it so that it's more like legible for a video. Something like that has saved me so much time and really does greatly improve my workflow, and it's why using a Galaxy S24 Ultra or a Pixel device is probably the move for me for the next little while. Though when the final build of iOS 18 releases, I will be putting my Galaxy phone on the back burner and giving Apple a run for its money to really determine whether or not these changes are enough to sway me as an Android user into the walled garden once again. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it all this way, put the Apple emoji in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about iOS 18 in the comments down below. Let me know your favorite feature or something that you don't like maybe, and I'll try to respond to every single one of you like I always do. Anyways, thanks for watching and peace out.